Good morning, friends. Today we'll see the sixth chapter of Industrial Stoichiometry, Energy Balances. Total 10 hours is required for the completion of this chapter, and 10 marks is allotted for the MSBT final exam related to this topic. In this chapter, we'll see the law of conservation of energy, different forms of energy, then heat, different types of heat, sensible heat, latent heat, specific heat, heat capacity. Then we'll see the heat of combustion, heat of formation, and Hess law of constant heat summation. Again, the heat of reaction, heat of dilution, and dissolution. The objective of this chapter is to apply the law of conservation of energy for a given system, then calculate the heat involved during phase change for the system, again apply the Hess law, and to calculate the standard heat of reaction for a given system. Now there are different forms of energy. Energy is nothing but the capacity or the ability of a body to do work, and the different forms of energy can be classified as the energy related to the system, which include energy possessed by material of the system, kinetic energy, potential energy, flow or pressure energy, internal energy, surface energy, and magnetic energy. Again, the forms of energy associated with the process, which include the energy produced or transferred by the processing or heat and work. And then kinetic energy, it is the energy or a substance or body possessed by virtue of its motion related to some reference plane. Again, the potential energy is the energy of a substance possesses by virtue of its position in relation to some datum plane. The sum of kinetic energy and potential energies of a body is called as the mechanical energy of the body. Then pressure energy is the energy of a substance possesses by virtue of the space it occupies, and it is the product of pressure and volume and is associated with the flowing streams under pressure. Then the internal energy, the energy of a substance possessed by virtue of its relative positions and the motion of its molecules. Again, we'll see the heat, which is the energy in transit between the hot source and the cold reservoir. Again, the heat is the form of energy which flows as a result of temperature difference, and the driving force that produces a transfer of internal energy is termed as temperature, and the form of energy which is the transfer from hot body to cold body as a result of difference in temperature is termed as a heat. Now there is a work. Actually, in mechanics, work done by a body is defined as the product of the force and the distance moved by the body in direction of the applied force. So we also define W is equal to Fs, and it is the form of energy which flows as a result of driving force, a force, a torque, or a voltage. For example, if the steam in a cylinder expands and move a piston against the restraining force, the steam does work on the piston. So the exchange of energy between the system and the surrounding occurs either as a heat or work. Heat to be considered positive when it is transferred from the surrounding to the system, or heat added to the system, and work done by the system is considered to be the positive. Work has the unit such as joule newton, dyne centimeter, erg, or foot poundal. Industrially, thermal or electrical energy is produced by the combustion of the solid, liquid, and gaseous fuel. One has to be very cautious during the production and utilization of energy, as it is wastage leads to reduced profits. So the heat is a form of energy that flows from high temperature to a low temperature, and the unit of heat is 1 calorie or equal to 4.184 joule, or 1 calorie is equal to 1.1868 joule. Heat can be measured in joule, kilocalorie, or calorie. Calorie is defined as the quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius in the vicinity of 15 degrees Celsius. So in this book, the term energy, enthalpy, and heat are used for thermal energy. Now look at the law of conservation of energy. The law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed during a process, although transformation of energy from one form into the another is possible, or the total energy of an isolated system remains constant. This is also called as the first law of thermodynamics, and according to this law, total amount of energy entering any system must be exactly equal to the living plus any accumulation within the system, or when a system gains or loses energy, it must be exactly equal to the loss from or gain of energy by the surrounding. Then the sensible heat that must be supplied or transferred to raise or lower the temperature of a substance or a mixture of substance. Then it is defined as Q is equal to mCp delta T, where m is the mass of substance, Q is the sensible heat in kilojoule, and the relation is also given. Then the latent heat of phase changes. Phase changes such as fusion, vaporization and condensation are also be there, and it accompanied by large changes in the enthalpy. Whether matter undergoes a phase change, vapor to liquid or liquid to solid, the enthalpy change associated with unit amount of matter at constant temperature and pressure is known as latent heat of phase changes. When the matter changes from one phase to another, latent heat is either absorbed or rejected. For example, ice melt at 273 degree Kelvin by supplying heat to produce water. Similarly, water at 1 atmospheric pressure and 373 degree Kelvin produces vapor if heat is continuously supplied to it. So there are different types of latent heats: latent heat of vaporization, latent heat of fusion, and latent heat of sublimation. And the unit for latent heat is kilojoule per kg in SI system, and it does not vary considerably with the temperature, but hardly varies at all with pressure at transition position. Now look at the energy balance during the phase change operation. Suppose that a vapor at its saturation temperature Ts and pressure P is used to heat a process stream, and if the condensed liquid is not subcooled, then the energy balance for the equation is heat removed from vapor is equal to heat gained by the process stream, or Q is equal to m dot V, lambda V is equal to m dot P CPP T2 minus T1, and the m dot V, lambda V, m dot P, CPP, T1, T2 are respective parameters. And if the condensed vapors are subcooled to temperature T, then the equation is given by 6.2, where m dot C, CPC are the specific parameters regarding the equation number 2. Now look at the next definition: specific heat. Specific heat of a substance is the ratio of heat capacity to the particular substance to that of water. Again, the heat capacity, the amount of heat required to increase the temperature of 1 kilogram of substance by 1 Kelvin. Heat capacity is generally expressed on a unit mass or unit mole basis, and it is given for constant volume. Volume is Cv is equal to dq upon dt, or dq is equal to Cv dt, and heat capacity at constant pressure is given by Cv is equal to dq upon dt, or dq is equal to Cp dt. In this way, again, heat capacity at constant pressure for the gases is defined as dq is equal to Cp dt, and while integrating, Q is equal to T1 to T2 Cp into dt. Again, there is an empirical equation for the heat capacities. For n moles of gas, Q is defined as n integration of T1 to T2 A plus Bt plus Ct square plus dt cube into dt, and the simplified version is given by equation number 6.10. And the next thing is the Hess law of constant heat summation, which states that enthalpy change, that is the heat evolve or absorb in a particular reaction, is the same whether the reaction takes place in one or several steps, and the total change in enthalpy depends on the pressure, temperature and state of aggregation, and is independent of number of intermediate reaction. So the Hess law is given, A tends to B, again A tends to C, C to D, D to E and E to B. And suppose for A to B, delta H is the heat of formation, then for path 1, path 2 and all the heat of summation is given, and according to Hess law, delta H is equal to delta H1 plus delta H2 plus delta H3 plus delta H4. And for that, again, one example is also given. Carbon can be converted into CO2 in two ways. C plus O2 gives CO2, or sometimes C plus half O2 gives CO, and twice CO plus half O2 gives CO2. And finally, delta H is equal to delta H1 plus delta H2. And with the help of this principle, it is possible to calculate the heat of formation of hydrocarbons, as it is particularly impossible to measure the same. Thank you. In this way, we have seen the chapter number 6 for industrial stoichiometry. Thank you.